Welcome to part 2 of Battlefield Tips and Strategies. Taking a look at the Jeep, you only want to use the Jeep to get from point A to point B and to get there quickly. And I recommend bailing out as soon as you can. The Jeep is extremely weak. You do not want to stay in it for long periods at a time because you will get killed in it. The gunner on the back, that should only be used by somebody who's traveling with you. If you just try to jump in the gunner seat in order to mow down some people with the Jeep being stationary, you're going to get killed pretty fast if you're playing anybody that's even halfway decent because you're an easy target, you have no cover. So only use the Jeep to get from point A to point B. One tactic that some players like to do is to take C4, place it all over the Jeep on each side, and then run it up next to an enemy and jump out and pop the C4. The only problem with that is you're left vulnerable after you pop the C4. You're a sniper out in the middle. So it can be pretty fun, but it can also be pretty risky. When you're in a tank, you want to drive to your destination in third-person point of view. That way you get a clear line of sight of everything around you. You can see your targets a lot easier. But as soon as you see a target, you want to hop right over to first-person point of view and shoot those targets. You have a lot better accuracy when you do that. So you want to be familiar with jumping back and forth between first-person and third-person for driving the tank and also with flying a plane. One thing I will point out is these objects on the map that look like a carport. You can drive up on these with your tank and it will heal your tank. So you could be low on health, you can drive up on there. Or if you just want to sit on top of one of these pads and shoot at people, if you do end up getting hit by the enemy, if it's not that bad, you can sit there and just keep on healing yourself up without getting out of the tank. If you are a tank driver, I do recommend that you play as an engineer class. You can sometimes go for a really long time by, shooting at your targets. Once you get wounded, back up out of the way for a little bit and heal yourself up and then jump back in, head back into the action. And, I've been on 20 kill streaks easy by doing this method. You want to be sure when you're using the tank that you're using the machine gun in order to fire at soldiers and to kill them. Don't use the tank cannon. You can hit a person dead center with a tank cannon sometimes and they live through it. I know it's retarded, but this is Battlefield. It ain't a simulation. So use your tank cannons for armor. Use your machine guns for soldiers. Moving on to the planes, there's a lot to discuss, but I realize that many players have a lot of trouble getting used to the planes and being successful at them. I'm not the best pilot. I'm average at best, but I'll try to share with you some of the knowledge that I have about flying, and hopefully you can take that and do something with it. If you're serious about being decent at the plane, you need to go and do the tutorial just like I talked about in the first video. Go through there, do it several times, keep practicing your bombing runs over and over and over, and just get used to the feeling of the plane. You also may want to switch your controls. I changed mine. I found something that felt more natural than the default settings. There is no one trick that's just going to make you an awesome pilot. There's no secret ingredient for dogfighting or bombing or whatever. It's just a combination of things. For most players, it's going to involve a lot of missing, and you just have to, not get frustrated and just keep on trying. Just tough it out because you're going to drop hundreds of bombs, and you may only hit 25 targets, if that many. So just keep trying. It's all about timing. One thing that you want to do if you're trying to bomb is try to always come in at the same angle and get used to, trying to figure out when exactly you need to drop your bombs. Use the back button and look behind you after you drop a bomb. This gives you a good view of where exactly you missed your target if you missed. And it'll tell you can see the bombs if they hit before the target or after the target. If they hit after the target, you dropped the bombs too late before you dropped it too early. If you want the tightest turn possible, you need to let off the gas. Don't hold your finger on the trigger and try to turn at the same time. Let off the gas and also use the joystick that is your rudders. Use your rudders to help you turn. You will get a sharper turn. Once again, it's all about preference. What I do is I switch between first and third. If I'm looking for a target and I don't know where a plane is, I'll switch to first, see where the plane is on my radar, and then I'll switch back to third in order to try to hunt them down. For me, third person's a lot easier when dogfighting because I can see where my tracers are landing. So therefore, I know where exactly to line it up when I'm following a plane as to where I need to aim in order to hit it. Another reason why I like to fly in third person is because if I'm flying low to the ground getting ready to bomb or looking for a target, I can easily see the terrain around me. If you're trying to run from a target and you have an enemy on your tail, do barrel rolls and try to know exactly where the plane is. If they're real close behind you, then a lot of times you can pull up and do an S maneuver and easily pull away from them. You can do an S maneuver several times. Now, depending on the angle, if a plane is farther away from you, then you don't want to pull up in the air because it's real easy for the enemy plane just to point up just a little bit and be able to catch you and blow you to smithereens. Just like with the tank, you can also hill a plane while remaining inside it. All you have to do is hover over your carrier or landing strip of a base that you have. It will not work over enemy bases or landing bases, but you can heal your plane by doing that. And if you're trying to avoid AA guns, remember that they have a limited range, so if you're way up in the air, they can't hit you. And if you need to bomb an AA gun, the best way to do that is to go way up in the air, out of their range, come up over them and dive bomb. And your bombs are going to land wherever it is that you're headed in the direction. So if you're headed straight down, your bombs are going to go straight down. And the last piece of advice I have for flying a plane is one that's going to tick off a lot of people, but whatever. If you're being shot at and you're about to be shot down and there's nothing you can do, bail out. I mean, for crying out loud, if you're in a tank and you're being shot at, then you would bail out. You would try to get out and run and try to get somewhere where you can stay alive. The object of the game isn't to who can see who can die gloriously. There's no shame in bailing out. Since both planes have the same functionality, it's really hard to shake somebody who's a good pilot who's on your tail. And sometimes the only way to get out of that situation is bail. And I recommend getting low to the ground before you deploy your parachute. If you deploy your parachute while you're way up in the air, it's just a big target for somebody to shoot at or for the plane to come back around and try to take a swing at. The most important thing is have fun. If you're wanting to become better, do the tutorial, and of course do air superiority on Coral Sea. What better dogfighting practice can you get rather than playing a map where you can only dogfight? That sums it up for this tutorial. I hope it helps some of you out. I know a lot of the information is very general, but hopefully you were able to pull a few tips out of there. And I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you on the battlefield.